Everybody, welcome back to the podcast where we are going to talk about Ivan Reitman, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis. Did I say Rick Moranis yet? 1984. Where were you? Almost, he says.
My parents were. My mom was 12.
Uh-oh, is mom listening or watching? We're talking about Ghostbusters.
There's something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters! Oh, classic. It is.
So, if there's spoilers, that's your own fault. It was out in 1984. So if you're listening or watching, we're probably not going to say spoiler alert because you know what? It's been out a while.
There's ghosts, and they get busted.
Did you know?
Wait. Weighing in at 100 and weighing in at 100 and Matt Logan.
Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi wrote this, and John obviously died
Right.
in 82, and it was rewritten
Yeah, completely.
totally.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't even know if, I mean, maybe the characters' names are the same and that's about it.
Right.
But it was totally rewritten
It was.
for this in New York, like, more realistic concept.
Yeah, it was originally going to be a futuristic film.
Well, yeah, they were going to, like, space travel.
That's right.
I think in time even, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
You know,
crazy.
space travel and time travel and, yeah.
And your conclusions are highly questionable.
Yeah, and even looking at Bill Murray's character, before he signed on, they considered Michael Keaton and Chevy Chase,
Yes.
which that would have been completely different.
Yes. I'm not sure I would have cared much for that.
No.
I
Maybe
mean,
Michael Keaton. Chevy Chase would have been interesting.
Michael Keaton, though, back then, I guess he probably. I mean, he's definitely a solid actor, very good, but
Not the comedic.
not the comedic.
giant.
Yeah.
Bill Murray is.
I don't think it definitely would have been
Yeah.
different.
They had a lot of big actors potentially looking at this because they were looking at Eddie Murphy too, and there was another guy. He was in Tom Hardy. He also passed away.
Oh, I guess I didn't see that.
Yeah, but that didn't work out. So that's.
Yeah.
I mean, the cast we got was through a lot of work, and they were great together.
They really were great together. I mean, Bill Murray, obviously, he was seasoned at that
Yep.
point. It wasn't like he was a newbie or anything like that. That helped. I mean, Caddyshack was huge for him.
Yep.
You
He looked very comfortable in his role.
Yeah, for sure.
But the kids love us.
Harold Ramis, I mean, he was also in Caddyshack, if memory serves, and he did National Lampoon's.
Yeah.
Which one was that? The Animal House.
Yeah.
I'm always serious.
Yeah, with John Belushi and stuff. So obviously Dan Aykroyd, we know, Blues Brothers, all that kind of stuff, but incredible cast. Sigourney Weaver, she started obviously got her recognition with Alien.
Yep.
In like 79.
This movie's only slightly different.
Slightly.
No people coming out of people's bellies, though.
Right. That's how I feel when I have a big meal.
Oh, my gosh. You get a big filled burrito, and you're just as stuffed as can be.
Yeah, the alien's just going to pop right out, it feels like. Exactly.
You are so odd.
How old were you when you saw this?
I was pretty young. I was probably 5 or 6.
Did you?
When I
Okay,
first
sure.
watched it.
Yeah, well, I guess it is only a PG.
Yeah.
so.
Besides some scenes where, like, they were very looking at it now is very cheesy.
Oh, it's completely
Yeah.
cheesy.
But as a kid, I could see it being afraid. But for the most part, I mean, it's all comedy. It's very lovable characters. Even like the first ghost that you meet,
Slimer is what it was named. Yeah,
He slimed me.
That's great!
the super chunky eating food. As a child, I could relate. A growing boy, I was like, "Oh, this could be me."
right. Yummy. I was, like 9 years old when this came out.
Oh my gosh!
So I was like 9 years old when I saw it. 9 or 10 anyway. And it, there was nothing really like it.
No.
And so that was super fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, you being like 6 years old had a whole different concept of Ghostbusters at that point.
Right.
Because it was cheesy for you at 10,
Right.
15 years after it was done.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to note. The thing that kind of got me was a $30 million budget. And how? In 84, where did they spend that money?
Right.
Because the CGI stuff, obviously, back then was terrible.
Right.
A+ for trying.
Yeah. I was just...
But it doesn't hold up.
There's two sides of CGI. There's one where it's done really well and it's super smooth. And then there's the other side where either because it's an old film like Ghostbusters or whether they're just all in for the cheesiness. But I'm all in for cheesy CGI where it looks absolutely ridiculous, but it's a good time. You get in the middle, and that's where you get some issues of film where they try to do either really good stuff. And again, Ghostbusters during the time was...
And now, a quick break for you to think about all the things you love in life, like Skittles. I love Skittles. And now, back to the episode.
There's only so much they could do.
Right. It was what it was.
I was as easily entertained from watching as a kid to today with some of the CGI where I was like... I remember the little demon dog running around where I was basically... It reminded me of one of those things where you like... you put on a stick and have it like randomly move around the screen where it just that thing is not there in real life and it's just like absolutely ridiculous, but I thought it was just as entertaining.
Yeah, entertaining for sure.
Entertainment value is really high on this one for me.
Absolutely.
The very beginning with Bill Murray's character doing the study between the girl and the guy,
or wavy or something, and spits his gum out.
Right,
that one. Yeah. I do remember that. Thinking of that scene, would you be able to get away with Bill Murray's character in a film today?
Absolutely not.
No, right?
No, it would not fly.
Yeah, it seemed to me, even back then, like as a kid, obviously I was really young and I didn't understand it as well as I do now, but do
you think his character was meant to be liked? He's the protagonist.
It was his character was, I think, designed to be a love-hate relationship, I guess. Like, you didn't want anything bad to happen to him because he was kind of that, this guy doesn't really know what he's like. He's not self-aware. Right. All those kinds of things. So you're like, kind of feel bad for him. You want to like him because of that. Like, he needs help.
Yes, we both have the same problem. You
know what I mean?
Yeah, I think his character is very entertaining. But yeah, again, in today's world, that would never fly. And I don't even know back then how well. I mean, it probably flew more than it probably should have. But like, yeah, his character was, I watched it and he was entertaining, but I never liked his character. Yeah. And I don't even think, I think he was more self-aware than I think he was pretty self-aware of what he was doing.
I think he was aware of what he was doing. I don't think he was aware. I mean, obviously, I don't know how they wrote the character specifically,
Right.
but I don't think he was aware that he was a dink. You know what I mean? I don't think he thought he was actually like a dink.
That's true.
That's what I mean.
But he convinces one of his partners to refinance his house so they could buy the firehouse.
Hey, does this pole still work? Wow, this place is great. When can we move in?
Think about it. So think about how exciting that was.
That's
would
true.
be like, certainly manipulative, but just not aware of that.
That's true.
That's what I mean. I guess he's just not aware of like how damaging that can his attitude and his demeanor and his literal like what his actions are going to harm somebody.
Right.
I just don't think his character was really aware of that.
Yeah. And luckily it's a film, so it all worked
Certainly
out in the
didn't
end.
care. Yeah, exactly. Totally. But Ivan Reitman, I remember I guess obviously back then I didn't know anything about him. I was a little kid and all that kind of stuff. But as you get older and you see some of these things that he's done, obviously he did Ghostbusters that we're talking about, but he was involved with like Harold Ramis and them too. He did National Lampoon's
Right.
Animal House.
Yep.
I was like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely had a good history together that I think worked into their actor chemistry.
Yeah, and that's where I was headed. Let's
at
go
you
there.
go.
Let's go there.
I'll let you start.
I'm being allowed to start.
I'll allow it.
Yes. I think so. There was a few things that were clunky for me.
Yep.
Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver. Obviously, that was designed to be like you're annoying, and all that stuff. I thought the timing was a little bad.
Yep.
In some of the scenes, I was pretty surprised by it because they're both very good actors.
Yep.
And I don't think that was by design in the direction.
Right.
So that definitely brought the score down for me.
Yep.
I think that there was a few scenes that felt like to me, specifically with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, I guess, it seemed like they kind of like looked off to the camera like, hey, did we do a good job?
Right.
As they were doing it, as
Yep.
they were acting out the scene. That seemed a little clunky, so I gave it a 3.9. I think there was scenes that just seemed thrown together.
Yep.
Maybe the editing was bad and it wasn't the acting, but it just seemed like it didn't fit real well.
Yeah.
With this kind of cast, I was really hoping to score a lot higher than that,
Right.
but that's where I landed.
Yeah, I thought, again, Peter's character, Dr. Venkman, I just didn't like. So I didn't understand how some of the interactions worked out between his colleagues, between Ray and Egon, so Dan and Harold. But again, it kind of makes sense because he was the charismatic leader that was going to push them through. And so I liked the beginning. I had a struggle, but then by the time they were, because what I thought was interesting is at the beginning, Dr. Venkman definitely did not believe in ghosts. In my understanding, he did it as a profession and he studied it for parapsychology and things like that.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, like even when he went to Sigourney Weaver's house, like, oh, there's nothing going on
Right.
here.
In
So-
the library,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, he didn't believe. Yep.
So I think once his character saw it and started believing, the chemistry between the three worked really well between those three guys. And again, Sigourney and Dr. Venkman, I think that's another one that got better as it went on. But you're right, with Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver, it was a weird dynamic. Even so, you get the beginning scene
clearly it was supposed to be a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
But the timing for me is where I was like, that seems like acting issues, right? So
like the super annoying character, and then again probably more the cheesy side of like where he's the key holder or something like that. I was like, all right, this is odd. So I gave it 3.8 just because again with the cast that they had, and even they had history together with some of them, and so you'd think they'd have a better connection or timing with one another, and so it definitely was something that I thought would be better based off of the actors that were in it. But again, whether that was just how the story played out, or cutting, or even just if it was how they worked together, just didn't fit well. It could have been better.
Totally. And the one thing, if memory serves, they had a lot of time to film.
Yep.
I think that this wasn't like a real short window of filming, so they could have got it a little bit better. So yeah, absolutely. I think let's talk about. Let's just go down. Let's do music and score.
Music.
Let's not be too routine.
All right.
Let's jump right into that. You ready for that? Music Man. So, yeah, the music, it has the super iconic theme song, which was stuck in my head all week because I had to get The Conjuring out of my head. So the new, even when I watched the new trailer that's coming out, the Afterlife, I was like, why in the world did they not reference who are you going to call? Yeah.
Ghostbusters. Like, you're watching the film, like, it's a Ghostbuster film, but mentally in my mind, like, how much better even if it was like a silent piano in the background going new. Granted that, so I'm excited about the trailer and the new movie, but I was like,
so the iconic ambulance was in it.
Yep.
But I agree, they should have had the music.
Yeah.
For the trailer.
But that's a whole different critique.
Yeah. We'll get to that one when it comes out.
That's right. So yeah, super iconic theme song. But so I love that. The song I could listen to all day in my head. It would go alongside with the song that never ends, just because it just gets stuck in my head, and it's a good song. But some of the other songs were super weird when I was listening to them. It kind of threw me off in the film. Specifically, one that I was in my head when I was watching it is when I forget the whole situation, but basically Dr. Venkman's walking out and Sigourney Weaver's character is talking to someone else, and they see each other. And all of a sudden there's this really weird, like almost like campy, like poppy song that comes on. And I was like, why is this being played here? Mm-hmm. This makes no sense to the situation that's going on.
Where's the stuff?
And so for this one, we talk about, a good score keeps you engaged in the film. A lot of times you don't even realize that the song is going on in the background. Or I think of like in Guardians of the Galaxy, where they just play all these just super good songs. We're like, oh yeah, this is super good. I love it. And so there were times, again, because they have the iconic, I that was a huge boost to me. But a lot of the other songs kind of threw me off when I was watching the film. So I gave it, a 3.4. Again, that's not. If they didn't have the iconic song, I would probably even be lower, just because when I was listening to it, there's a lot of times where there's not music involved, which I think is something that was more common with older films, because they didn't focus the budget into that. But when they did play music, it was like, this doesn't always make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna just both barrels on this one, 3.6, and it brought it up a good point because of the Ghostbusters theme song.
Yeah,
that I've loved for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
right. Like, it's definitely something that has been. Any little thing that you hear just reminds you of good times with the Ghostbuster movie.
Absolutely.
And so that brought that way up. But yeah, it was. I was not impressed at all with the score, any of the music, even the workout music or whatever that was going on in that one scene.
Yep.
And I'm like, that just is out of place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which is too bad.
It was really too bad.
I'm interested in the new film to see if they do a better job of tying everything together with the soundtrack. But this one was, everywhere, and it didn't make sense to me. But that's just, score I usually love, and it's fun listening to. But again, it's interesting listening to older films to see how it actually plays out because it wasn't as big of a focus.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, a quick break. And it's not a Kit Kat, sorry. And now, back to the episode with your host, Matt Logan.
And back then, it probably was like, okay, this works.
It's a cheesy movie.
Yeah.
Cheesy songs. Makes complete sense.
Right. I want to do costume designs next.
Costume. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Here's where this is what I like.
Yep.
And I've said this in other podcasts. I like that really stand out, like, look at me, here I am kind of costume that goes on in the film. Obviously, they had that.
Oh, yeah, they did.
You know, the uniforms that they had.
Yeah.
You know, just were like, hey, we are the Ghostbusters.
We embrace who we are.
That's right. No matter where you're at in New York City right now, no one looks like us. We're stand out. We have these heavy-duty packs on us. Nobody has a freaking clue what they are.
You know what I found super funny? They had elbow pads.
Yes.
Like, they were fully committed.
Oh, yes.
None of my costume currently makes sense for what I'm doing.
Yes. Absolutely. It was hilarious. And that's exactly what I love in costume. Like, when it should be a, like, wow, look at me. There it is. I like it.
And the super red plasma beams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just popped.
Absolutely. So the costume design, I gave it a 4.5. And everything else, I gave it a higher score because of the pop.
Yep.
And everything else scored high because it seemed to work. I mean, Sigourney Weaver, you know, a couple of her outfits were a little bit weird, but they were meant to be. Yeah.
You want your red dress, you got your orange dress.
Exactly. Yes. And so, so that was good because it was like, what?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, we get it. It's not supposed to necessarily be a blend-in situation.
No,
so
she was full-on crazy.
it was, so it worked. Very, very well done on the costume design, in my opinion, because it holds up to like, this is the Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Period.
Yeah, I thought the day-to-day apparel was nothing spectacular, which was good because it shouldn't have been. And again, like you said, the Ghostbuster costumes are iconic. And what I liked about them is that they definitely stood out, but even the detail with it is that you could tell the characters didn't spend much money for those costumes. It was a jumpsuit with their logo and those cheap elbow pads. So it made complete sense that these people who barely have money or just trying to start up their business have these absolutely redonkulous costumes that do stand out and fit those characters. And I mentioned, as you said, Dana's crazy costume at the end where it looks like she just ripped off a curtain and just said, you know what, I'm going to put a pin on this, and it's a dress.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I gave it a 4.3. I thought it was really fun costumes throughout, and it made a lot of sense to me.
And for me, I knew the movie when it was first out.
Yep.
And so even back then, I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
This is a cool thing. So that works.
Did you ever dress up as a Ghostbuster?
I haven't, but they still have the costumes.
Oh,
they're like $100 and some bucks, though. Yeah.
You know, those collector's apparels are never cheap.
Right. I'm like, $100. I could probably make it for 10, like they did back then.
That's
for
right. Let me give me a patch and a jumpsuit, and we'll call it a day.
That's right. You can go to Menards or something like that and get a paint suit and look about the same.
Oh my goodness.
Which one are we going to do next?
Well, let's talk about the locations.
Okay, let's do it.
I've not been outside of Minnesota like I've talked about.
Yes.
And so the locations were nothing spectacular for the most part. I thought it made sense to the big city, and specifically when they were getting Slimer, I kind of really liked that hotel where they ended in that big ballroom. I thought that was a lot of fun, and kind of how I picture New York, with some of the hotels being like finer luxury. And then, you know, the end scene where they're on top of this huge building and things are crumbling down. So I enjoyed it. The firehouse with the pole, you know, it being, they bought it as it was like a run down place, and the building definitely looked run down. And the apartments was nothing spectacular. But again, these people were supposed, or Sigourney's character was supposed to be an ordinary person. Nothing, like, I don't think she had high status.
I'm somebody.
Well, she kind of did a little. I mean, she was a musician.
Yeah.
You know, orchestra. I mean, that's not super normal.
That's true.
But
they're not super rich either.
No, right. Not like status, but
right.
Not normal.
That's true.
A little different, yeah.
So, I mean, I gave filming location, you know, 3.8. I mean, there was no like standout locations to me. I mean, they ran through the park, but again, like nothing really stood out to me at a location. So I think they could have done a little bit better with that, for the better or for worse. So that's what I gave the locations.
So locations for me, I gave it a little higher, 4.2, and when they had the history of the building, you know, it was like literally designed for the Gozer type thing, that the demon or whatever, you know, so that this building was built for that specific, like,
oh really,
evil, right? And so that was kind of cool for me, so that they brought in some story with the location,
right?
And that's why I gave it a 4.2. Everything else was, you know, the ballroom at the, you know, more start of the ghost busting, was pretty cool. The hallways in the hotels reminded me of some old hotels I've been in. So it seemed very authentic. And then the history that they kind of shared with it. Yeah. Also, the firehouse was big. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Especially when Dan Aykroyd's character, you know, Ray, he apprehensive, as we talked about earlier in the podcast, of mortgaging. You know, what did they say? It's a third mortgage.
That's
is
right.
Yeah. I mean,
it's all the rage.
Yeah. So, you know, I guess, and then the pole.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
That's right.
You know.
Hey, does this pole still work? Wow, this place is great. When can we move in?
So that was fun. So that's a 4.2.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Should we talk about those shots?
Let's do it.
Cinematography. Again, it's a film. We're going back. I mean, at this point, it's 27 years old.
Yeah, I guess.
So things were very different with things how were shot, especially I think in comedies. I mean, I don't think they were taken as seriously as, you know.
No, it'd be 37.
Are you okay?
19.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's 2020.
Yeah. It's almost 22 time.
Oh my gosh.
It's I know you're tired. It's late. I'm tired too.
Well, I think I don't expect it's that long ago.
No,
so 37 years.
37 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what, crazy that I'm that old?
So, you know,
no comment. I just let that slide right on through. I'm kidding. Go.
Let's continue on. So, I've never enjoyed the cheesy, like, I know it's very popular back in the day with, like, you know, the car scenes where all of a sudden they speed up the film, so where the car is cheesily going really fast.
Yeah.
I've never personally enjoyed that effect. And they did that in this. And special effects were definitely dated, which goes into cinematography of how things look, and
it doesn't hold up.
no,
But you look at something like Predator or even Alien back then, that holds up for me.
yep,
But this did.
the heat vision, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, between the demon dog running around and getting attacked, that was, oh my gosh, I had a hard time watching that. Again, I like cheesiness, and so I thought I had a hard time watching it, but I was very entertained watching it. And Dana floating from her bed seemed like a cheesy magic trick when it was done, because she was a complete plank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
again, I think it was a thing of the times. So I didn't give cinematography super high. I gave it a 3.1.
Yeah.
Just because, it was dated, and going back to it, a lot of the things are hard to watch and take seriously.
Yeah.
And definitely throws me out of what's actually going on. There was this, going back to the Ghostbusters theme, I really enjoyed that segment of how they popped in the articles and then them catching the ghosts in the moment. I thought that was really cool. I always think it's when they do shots or scenes like that, and if it's well done, I think it's fun to see the progression of the story done that way. So I thought that was enjoyable, but yeah, for the most part, I was like, the special effects threw me off in effect the cinematography, just because that's how we're seeing the things.
Yeah. So I have a bit of a bias on the cinematography. The film in general, I'll be honest, there's a bit of a bias because I remember, and it was huge. I mean, this blew up. Wasn't supposed to.
Right.
All those things. Totally rewritten. Dan Aykroyd, I mean, if memory serves, I remember hearing he wasn't really happy with because it was rewritten. Obviously, he's probably still grieving his friend, and
right.
They wrote it together. So I think that there was some of that for me that has that bias of a more positive feel, like, hey, this ended up being successful. It shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
All those kinds of things. So I gave it a 4.0 because of some of those bias. And at least I'm aware I have
That's
it.
That's
right. I'm aware I have it. I mean, the demon scenes, the demon dog, the whole thing was good memories for me.
Yeah.
When I rewatched it,
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, it doesn't hold up. I'll say that it doesn't hold up, but yeah. So that's where I'm at with it.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So overall entertainment value, I gave it a 4.3. I'm still very entertained by it.
Yep.
I think even if I wasn't aware of its history, I would still be very entertained by it.
Yeah.
Because it has the cheesy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It has the, like, are you kidding me? There's no way.
Yeah.
Like, conversations they have.
Exactly.
So it's very entertaining. It kept me almost awake the whole time. And so I'll just be honest, I might have dozed a little bit when I rewatched it here a day or two ago. But
Yeah, I gave it a 4.2. The graphics definitely do not hold up as well compared to when it first released. Not that I would know what that's like, but the cheesiness makes it just as entertaining and fun. So for me personally, I can get past the bad graphics and just enjoy that it's just a cheesy film that's meant to be enjoyed, and the storyline doesn't always make sense, but again, I'm all here for watching them catch ghosts, and they do that very well.
Yeah, for sure. And the comedic timing of it is pretty good too. So the entertainment value. So my overall rating came to a 4.1. Is where we ended at with those 6 categories.
Yeah, I gave it 4.0. I think Ghostbusters remains a classic film since the day it released. Although age has taken its toll on some parts of the film, the story, actor chemistry, and overall entertainment allows it as a must-watch for any movie fan who enjoys watching classic films. And also, who doesn't want to have nightmares of a giant marshmallow roaming your streets?
That's true. We didn't talk about the Marshmallow Man.
No.
Which is also another very tacky CGI thing, but very fun.
Oh, yeah.
But in 1984, what can you do?
Eat marshmallows?
That's right. And it did earn $282.2 million back then.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and it's done obviously a lot more since.
I mean, the franchise still going strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to review the brand new one that comes out here in a bit. So stay tuned for that.
That's right.
You want to wrap up with anything, or should we just let's go?
Let's go.
We're on our way out for this episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. How can we find you?
You can find me at on Instagram at tpeter361.
Is that the dog one?
No, my dog one is I have a little Cavapoo named Willard, and she has an Instagram that you can follow. That's Willard_the_adventurer.
Oh, wow.
Working on
Write
figuring
that
out a
down.
better one, yeah. We visit the Minnesota State Parks.
Nice. Tyler, it's been fun. I can't wait for next week where we get to do Dune.
×2.
The new one in the original.
OG.
That's right. That's right. I like it. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving us a 5-star on the podcast platforms if you're listening. And make sure that you write us a comment. It can even be a critical comment. I mean, even though it should be constructive criticism, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, all my fears have been put through Conjuring, so what's the worst that can happen?
That's right. So we appreciate all of your comments. Be nice to us.
Please.
See you next week.